Jack is now going to talk to us for a bit on his history with the Avro Arrow. So I would ask if everyone can please give him some respect, and if you're going to talk, write down, make sure everybody else can hear Jack. Thanks, Jack.
I'll stand in the middle of the room.
Perfect.
Well, thanks guys for giving me the opportunity to come here and tell you a little story about the Avro Arrow and why there's suddenly now a renewed interest in the Arrow, because they're raising the models as we speak out of Lake Ontario. And I was invited to become part of the team because I'm probably one of the few members at Avro left living. Somebody said earlier, you must have been really young when you were there. And I said, well, I'm still young now, but I am getting up there. And for this to happen 60 years later is really exciting for me. The models that they're retrieving out of Lake Ontario are 10 feet long, and they're made of titanium. And they fired 9 of them into the lake from Picton with rockets. And I was there for the first 3 shots. And I'm proud to say that next summer I'm going to be on the barge when they pull it out of the water. I saw it go up, and I'm going to see it come out of the water. And that's, for me, is quite a thrill. So that's what's happening. And we have to thank Oseco, this company. This is our flying suit, that every person that's working on the project to raise these models has a uniform like I'm wearing tonight. And Oseco, this top guy here, is a gold company that is financing the whole shot. People ask, well, how much is this going to cost? I mean, how much government money are you using? There is no government money in this whatsoever. It's privately funded. And we have a submarine company that raised the Franklin up in the Arctic. Same company is in Lake Ontario looking for these models that we have. So you might want to know a little bit about the Avro Arrow. I was there in the photographic department. I was appointed as the air-to-air photographer. So I flew in the back seat of a CF-100 every time the Arrow went in the air. And the photographs that you can see in the books that are here on display, anything in the air, I'm proud to say is a picture that I took. And I'm very proud of that. The Arrow had 4 planes that actually flew. None of them flew with our engine. We developed our own engine, which was the Iroquois, but it never got in. It never got through its test stages to get in an actual aircraft. So we were using an American engine in all of the test flights that we had. Test flights were absolutely perfect. We never had a failure. We had 1 plane crash on the runway because of a malfunction of an undercarriage, and with minimal damage, but in the air it was flawless. And that plane was potentially to go 3 times the speed of sound. It was going to be a killer plane. And the government of Canada in 1959 decided that we couldn't afford it, and so they canceled it. They canceled it in 1 day. 15,000 people were out of work in 1 day, plus another 15,000 that were doing subcontracting on the project. And nobody got back to work. Planes that were on the assembly line were chopped up and scrapped. planes that had been in the air were chopped up as scrap. The drawings, everything to do with it was destroyed. The odd guy stole a bit of stuff away, but that's, it was just a sad, sad affair. Who canceled it? John Diefenbaker canceled it. It was the Canadian government that sent the letter to Avro to say, stop production. 50% of the people say no. The Americans canceled it. The Americans were very much involved in the Arrow as it grew. It was their engine that was in the airplane, and they had a lot to say about it. And people think that they made Diefenbaker cancel it because it would have interfered too much with their airplanes that they were building. If the Arrow was flying today, it still would be not outdated. As you know, Avro started out as Victory Aircraft. You modelers would like to know this. Victory Aircraft built a lot of the Lancaster bombers during the Second World War. And when that was over with, Hawker Siddeley, a British company, bought the company and brought A.B. Rowe over and built the CF-100. We built hundreds and hundreds of those things and very successful. And then they decided that we would go supersonic and started building the Arrow. We also built an aircraft that's little known, is the jetliner, which was a 4-engine jet commercial traveler that was far ahead of anything that was on the market at the time, but it never sold. We had one. It flew, and we used it a lot as a photographic platform. We also built a flying saucer, which flew, but never got anywhere. And we had all of our hopes in the Arrow, and unfortunately, that fell away on us. This OSISCO is planning to raise these models, which are in the bottom of the lake right now, full of zebra mussels, but they were made out of titanium, so they feel that they can bring them up, clean them up, fix them up. We found 2 already. One has a broken nose cone, but we can fix that. And they're going to put them on pedestals like this guy and give them to museums. One is scheduled to go to the Hamilton Aeronautical Museum. One is going to Trenton. One is going to Ottawa. And, well, as many as we can find. If we can find 9, we're going to give 9 away. They are doing a lot of publicity on this, and that we've revived the Arrow that's been down for over 60 years now. People that don't even know about it suddenly realize this is a part of Canada's heritage, and that's the goal of OSISCO, is to maintain this Avro Arrow because it was the greatest piece of aviation history we've had, and they want it to be heritage and live on forever. And without something like this, they think it's going to die. So they're very adamant about keeping this thing alive and going forward from there. This raising of the Arrow started last year. It was supposed to be a 3-month project because they found the Franklin fairly quickly. So they thought, well, they can find this, and OSISCO was in the gold business, and they said, if we can find gold, we can sure as hell find an airplane at the bottom of the lake. But it's been tough. And as I said, we've got 2 now, so we really do think that next year we're going to get a few more. And that's going to be a big excitement for us. So what can I tell you? I was there. I flew beside the Arrow. I flew under the Arrow. I flew over the Arrow. We had a lot of fun doing that, and I'm very fortunate to have been in that position, and I'm even more proud now to be part of this resurrection of it, because it brings everything back and brings back to me memories that I had forgotten, because it's been so long, and you just think that's gone, it's out of our minds. And people would come to my house and look at my Arrow book and go, what's this? Because the generations that have changed, it's just not there. It's not there. So that's what else can I tell you? What else can I tell you? What else can I...
All the pictures you took, were they property of Davy Rowe, or did you keep it?
All the pictures?
Yeah.
All the pictures were the property of A.V. Rowe.
Yeah.
I was in a photographic department where there were 30 people in that department. 5 of us were photographers, and the rest were finishers, and we did offset printing, we did all kinds of things. When the Arrow was canceled, because it was so sudden, nobody thought this was going to happen. So myself, I had tons and tons of pictures, but I had to, they actually ushered you out of the place. And so we got out with nothing. I have no pictures of the Arrow. And the pictures that are in the books, they have got them from this guy had a couple, this guy had a few, and so forth. Personally, I didn't get anything. So I have 2 lousy pictures here of a CF-100, and that's it. So what can I tell you? Anybody want to know anything about the company or anything that...
Over in the corner.
Yes, sir.
Something you might not be aware of, I used to work for an outfit here in town called Lumbers they would use. They bought filing cabinets, things like that for businesses that were going under or business. They got a bunch of stuff from Spartan, who were the avionics people. They were working on some of the missiles that they used. And they found one of our 2 filing cabinets full of all kinds of Arrow paraphernalia. Somehow the word got out, and Mounties came a couple of days later and confiscated everything. This was about a month before I got there, where you guys would have got tons of stuff.
Now, the guy I worked for, my supervisor, he got a lot of stuff. And in fact, we have riddled his library for much of the material that we're using today. But he was able to get back in because of his position in the company. But the rest of us didn't do too good. So.
Jim, did you have a question?
I have a question, yes. How did they find you, or how did you find them when they had this idea of retrieving the Arrow model?
Well, it's a funny story, because when I left Avro, I worked in photography for a little bit, and then I got out of that game and started my own business and went my merry way. And one day I'm playing golf with a guy that I didn't know at the time, but happened to be part of this company. And he was talking about one thing and another, and said, "What did you do, when you were younger?" So I told him, I said, "Well, I worked at Avro as an aerial photographer." And then he said, oh my God, these guys are trying to raise part of the Arrow. They want to talk to you. So they contacted me, and I told them what I did and that I had been to Picton and I had, you know, what I had done. And so they said, well, we would like to have you on our team to tell the story. And because you're one of the few guys we've got that actually was there. And that's how I got here tonight, so.
Question over here.
Yes, sir.
Were you actually taking photographs of the models in flight? When the models were fired, were you following to take pictures of it?
We did. We followed it with a 16 millimeter camera. It would go out, I would say 3 kilometers. We would lose it at the end. But this was before computers, so this was the only way they knew whether the ailerons were right or the rudder or whatever. And as I said, they threw 9 of them out there. They also threw 4 into Florida and threw them out into the ocean. We're not going to find those, but it was a big project. It was a big project.
Did they shoot them all basically in the same place, like are they all piled up on top of each other?
They had there's a lot of government land in Picton, and they had a ramp that's still there today where they fired these things off.
So it was fixed.
And, I'm sorry?
So it was fixed in one direction.
Oh, yeah, it was fixed, and they were all going in the same direction.
So you think if you found one, you're pretty close to finding
Yeah,
more?
no, and it was all done within, I'd say about 8 months from start to finish. They did this project, and as I said, if you go to Picton to Port Pelee, the ramp's still there.
Got another over there.
Doug?
Yeah, the rockets were used to fire these models. Have you seen pieces of them lying around?
There are. The rocket tube was about, I'd say 5 or 6 inches in diameter, and those cylinders, we found those. They were easy, and once we found those, then we knew we were going the right direction.
That makes sense.
Find them all. Yeah.
How deep is the water that
The water, the one we found is 140 feet. And we had to get permission from the government to raise these, which took a long time, but they have the rights to do this now. That's what we're doing. Yes, sir.
In Canadian mythology, one got away. Have you heard that story?
I'm sorry?
In Canadian mythology about the Avro Arrow, apparently one jet was absconded and got away.
That's the CDC.
I hear that quite a bit, but and that's based on the fact, if you look at the book, the back cover, they're on the tarmac where they chop them up, and there's one missing, but I don't think it's missing. I think Green Spoon's got it in Hamilton.
I heard that story watching Front Page Challenge many years ago.
Yeah.
That one of the people on Front Page Challenge actually heard the aircraft engines fire up that morning before the announcement.
And of course, in the movie they did on the Arrow, the end of it is one flying into. That's probably where they got it from.
There's a female passenger.
Yes, sir.
Oh, so, the guys who chop and destroy the planes were people from Arrow or somebody, a contractor from outside? Because if you were from Arrow, I think they would have been crying to be done.
Just wondering, like, was it Arrow employees who did the cutting up of the
No.
planes, or
No,
was it outside
I'm
party?
dead serious. There's a scrap metal dealer in Hamilton, I think his name is Greenspan or Greenspoon, and they got the contract to haul them away. And they chopped them up on the tarmac and took them out by the trucks.
Anthony?
Oh, Jack, I was
Yeah.
just wondering about, what was your experience like when you were a young man and your day-to-day life at work, when you're riding in the CF100 and you're trying to take the photos? What were the challenges in that experience and using the equipment at the time?
Well, the first part was to learn how to get comfortable and in the back seat of a jet fighter. And I had a special camera because you're very confined in the back seat with the canopy, and so we built a camera that I could turn from side to side and not hit the canopy. That was the beginning, and then there were about 6 or 7 test pilots at Avro who would test CF100s if they came back for service or repairs or whatever, and then they would have to check it out, and they would call me to go with them because it was a flight for me. And we might get up there and find another couple of CF100s and we'd take some pictures, and I was just getting ready for the Arrow. And these pilots were very good to me because I was getting danger pay while I was in the air. So the more time I spent in the air, the better my check would be at the end of the month. And they were giving me $5 an hour danger pay. So that was quite a bit of money, and so these guys were very good to me. And I have a logbook, and I have over 500 hours in the back seat of a CF100.
You ever thought of using Damn Diefenbaker Day t-shirts as a fundraiser?
No, but I can sure use yours.
Well, the Hamilton Air Museum.
Huh?
Hamilton Air Museum.
Oh, is that where you got that? Okay, okay. Yeah.
Any more
Well-
questions, gentlemen?
Any other questions, guys? Oh, one more. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of an off joke. I had heard one time that Elway Yost was an HR manager, did a lot of recruiting for Navy during that period.
Elway Yost was in public relations at Avro. And he was there till the end, and then he got his own TV show. That's right.
I used to understand.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
I heard that
I
story.
knew him well. Yeah. So, well, I can't tell you anything else, but if I think of it or you think of something, glad to talk to you. And I think for anybody that's at least interested, I was 22 years old in 1959.
Thank you.